Most people think investing is complicated, Warren Buffett said as he cut his steak. But I've made $100 billion following just 3 rules. Want to know what they are? I nodded eagerly. Rule number 1, never lose money. Rule number 2, never forget rule number 1. Rule number 3, dot. And that third rule changed everything I thought I knew about wealth. Tonight, I'm having dinner with Warren Buffett, the world's most famous investor. This 93-year-old legend is explaining how he turned Berkshire Hathaway into a $7 trillion empire. And right now, he's sharing the most valuable lessons of his life with me. What's the third rule? I asked, holding my breath. Buffett smiled and put down his fork. Rule number 3, make time your friend, not your enemy. When I heard this sentence, I was confused. Make time your friend? What does that mean? Look, son, he said, placing his hands on the table. In 1942, when I was 11 years old, I bought 3 shares of City Service. I paid $38 per share, total $114, all my savings at the time. At 11 years old? Really? Of course. But here's where I made my first big mistake. The stock price dropped to $27. I got scared and panicked. Then when it rose to $40, I immediately sold. I made a small profit. I was happy. So what was the problem? Buffett's eyes lit up. That stock later went up to $202. If I'd waited, I would have made $600. But more importantly, if I'd held that money and let compound interest grow it until today. He paused, quickly calculating in his head. That $114 would be worth $400,000 today. My jaw dropped. Just by waiting? Just by waiting. That's why my biggest regret is starting too late. If I had started at 9 years old, he laughed. So what lesson did you learn from this story? Rule number 1, never lose money. Because every dollar you lose means you lose the power of compound interest. Rule number 2, never forget rule number 1, because discipline is more important than talent. What about the third rule? Rule number 3, make time your friend. Because compound interest is the most powerful force in the universe. I don't know if Einstein actually said this, but it's definitely true. The waiter came and cleared the plates. Buffett continued his story. In 1950, I was taking Benjamin Graham's classes at Columbia University. Graham is the father of value investing. He taught me the most important thing. What was that? Buy a stock as if you own that company. Price is what you pay. Value is what you get. In the short run, the market is a voting machine. In the long run, it's a weighing machine. What does that mean? In the short term, people act with emotions, fear, greed, panic. But in the long term, the true value of companies emerges. Good companies rise, bad companies fall. So which companies are good? Buffett leaned back. When I bought Washington Post in 1973, the company's market value was $80 million. But I knew that newspaper's real value was at least $400 million. How did you know? Because I had done my research. Washington Post had a monopolistic position. It had good management, and most importantly, it produced a product that people needed every day. News. And what happened? In 10 years, that investment gained 10 times value. In 20 years, 100 times, because I let time be my friend. This story fascinated me. Are there other examples? Coca-Cola, he said immediately. In 1988, I started buying Coca-Cola stock. Everyone was saying, Warren, this stock is too expensive. I said, Coca-Cola will still be consumed 100 years from now, and I was right. How much did you invest? $1.3 billion. Today that investment is worth $25 billion, almost 20 times. I was breathless. 20 times? Yes. But this wasn't just about money. What Coca-Cola taught me was more valuable, the importance of brand power. How so? Think about it. If all of Coca-Cola's factories burned down overnight, the next day banks would give them credit. They'd rebuild. Because Coca-Cola has a brand. But if an unknown sugar water company's factory burned down, that company would be finished. So brands are more valuable than physical assets? Of course, the best investments are companies with few physical assets but high brand value. Look at Apple, look at Google, look at Microsoft. Did you invest in these companies? Buffett laughed. Here you'll understand one of my big mistakes. I discovered Apple too late. I started buying in 2016. If I had bought 10 years earlier, what would have happened? Instead of $500 billion worth of Apple stock, I'd have $2 trillion worth now. Why were you late? Because I didn't understand technology companies. My rule is simple. Don't invest in what you don't understand. But it took me a long time to realize that Apple isn't actually a technology company, it's a consumer brand. How did you realize? By watching my grandchildren. When they lost their iPhones, I saw how they panicked. That's when I understood that Apple isn't just making phones, it's creating addiction. And addiction is the most powerful business model. This perspective was very new to me. What other sectors do you invest in? I don't invest in sectors, I invest in companies, but I have a few criteria. First, can you understand the company's product? Second, will there still be demand for the same product in 10 years? Third, what separates this company from its competitors? Can you give a concrete example? Think about GEICO Insurance. Insurance is a very boring business, but Geico's difference is its direct sales model. No intermediaries, so costs are low. Low costs mean low prices. Low prices mean more customers. And is this sustainable? Of course, because competitors don't want to change their traditional intermediary model. It's too risky and costly, so Geico's advantage is protected. How do you find such advantages? By reading, I read 5 to 6 hours a day. Newspapers, annual reports, industry analyses, information accumulates, and over time, vision becomes clearer. What's the most important reading material? Companies' annual reports, especially the CEO's letter. If the CEO openly explains the company's problems, I trust that company. If they constantly praise successes, I become suspicious. Why? Because honesty is the best indicator of management quality. When I buy a company, I'm actually buying management. The waiter brought the dessert menu. Buffett glanced at it. I always order the same thing, cherry Coke and ice cream. Really? I've reached 92 years old drinking cherry Coke. Why should I change? He laughed. Is it the same logic in investing, resisting change? No, quite the opposite. Understanding change but not panicking. Do you remember the 2008 financial crisis? Of course. Everyone was selling, I was buying. I invested $5 billion in Goldman Sachs, $5 billion in Bank of America. Everyone was saying, Warren, have you gone crazy? Why did you buy? Because the United States would never allow America's big banks to fail. This wasn't a big risk. It was a big opportunity. And what happened? My Goldman investment gained 3 times value. My Bank of America investment gained 4 times. During crisis moments, the best opportunities are born. What do you think about the markets now? Markets are always volatile, but I believe in America's long-term future. In the last 100 years, we've experienced 2 world wars, 1 Great Depression, dozens of crises, but the Dow Jones went from 100 to 35,000. So is it always right to invest? If you're thinking long-term, yes. But if you're thinking short-term, don't invest at all. The stock market is a machine that transfers money from the impatient to the patient. What was your biggest investment mistake? Buffett thought. Buying Berkshire Hathaway. I was surprised. How so? Isn't this your greatest success? Berkshire was a bad textile company. I bought it because it was cheap. But buying a bad business cheap is worse than buying a good business expensive. So why did you continue? Because I turned it into a holding company. I closed the textile business and started investing in other businesses. But if I had chosen the right company from the start, I'd be 10 times richer today. What did you learn from this experience? Price is what you pay, value is what you get. Cheap but bad is always expensive. Expensive but good is always cheap. What's your advice to young investors? First, invest in yourself. Education, skills, character. These are the only things that can't be taken from you. Second, Invest in things you can understand. Third, think long-term. How long is long-term? At least 10 years. If you're not prepared to hold a stock for 10 years, don't hold it for 10 minutes. What do you think about index funds? The best choice for most people. Buy an S&P 500 index fund and forget it. Expect an average 10% annual return. In 40 years, your money will multiply 45 times. 45 times? The power of compound interest. With 10% annual returns, money doubles every 7.2 years. In 40 years, it doubles 5 to 6 times. 2 to the power of 6 equals 64, approximately 45 to 50 times. Is this real? Completely real. I've made an average 20% annual return for 70 years. Money doubled every 3.6 years. In 70 years, it doubled approximately 20 times. That's why $1,000 became $1 million. This math amazed me. What's the secret? There's no secret. There's patience and starting. If you're 20 years old and save $100 per month and invest it in index funds, you'll be a millionaire at 65. Really? Let's calculate. $100 per month, $1,200 per year for 45 years, with 10% annual returns, approximately $1.2 million. This is incredible. This is mathematics, and mathematics doesn't lie. My biggest secret is this: live modestly, save regularly, invest long-term. Did your lifestyle change after you became wealthy? I still live in the same house, the house I bought in 1958 for $31,500. I still drive the same car. My most expensive pleasure is playing bridge. Why? Because money means freedom, but if you spend it on luxury, you become a slave again. I prefer to be free. So what's your money for? Philanthropy. I'm giving away 99% of my wealth, because money can't be taken to the grave, but goodness is permanent. Your final advice? Start today, even if it's $1, because compound interest's best friend is time and its biggest enemy is procrastination. This evening I spent with Warren Buffett fundamentally changed my understanding of investing. Now, I truly understand the real power of compound interest. Don't forget to subscribe and check out the other videos to hear the most private dinner conversations where billionaires reveal their deepest secrets. Which part inspired you the most? Drop it in the comments. Let's figure out how to become billionaires together.